Coming up in a moment, Boko Haram strikes again in Borno State and 50 people lose their lives. This attack brings to 600 the number of lives that have been lost since May the 30th. Then we take a look at some of the challenges which children face in camps for internally displaced persons. This one is coming from Uganda. And later on, despite the summer temperatures and the smog in the city, Egyptians remain in high spirits as hundreds of runners take part in a race to celebrate the opening of the country's new Suez Canal waterway. Broadcasting from Lagos, Nigeria to viewers around the world, Network Africa starts now. And welcome to Network Africa on Channels Television with me, Cynthia Are. We begin with some news which broke yesterday concerning a bomb attack on a packed market in northeastern Nigeria. We understand that the explosion happened at about 1:30 p.m. local time in the town of Sabongeri in Borno State. A military source disclosed that as many as 50 people had been killed and dozens more lost their lives, or rather they sustained various degrees of injury. The U.S. State Department has condemned the attack, which it believes is another Boko Haram operation. A tally done by monitors shows that more than 600 people have been killed in raids and bombings by the insurgents since the new government emerged. Well, we're joined by our correspondent in Borno State, Blessing Tuno. Blessing, thank you for joining us on the program. Any updates 24 hours after this unfortunate incident?
Thank you, Cynthia. There's no update so far. Damboa is quite far from the state capital, and the road leading to the local government has actually been blocked for some months now. So there's no access to the place right now. You have to go through Yobe and Gombe State before you get to that area. But so far, we've not heard any new developments today, and those that were injured have been taken to the neighboring local government view, and they are receiving treatment there at the moment. And then we understand that the civilian JTF have intensified their stop and search, especially in public places right now in Damboa. And most areas are also taking a cue from that. They're becoming more vigilant to avoid the recurrence of what happened yesterday.
Well, Blessing, thank you very much. Please stay safe. Thank you for bringing us the updates. Thank you. Our Borno State correspondent, Blessing Tuna. Well, a new president has been bitten by the third-term bug. President Denis Sassou Nguesso is so determined to run for a third term that he's gone as far as replacing two ministers who publicly criticized his intention to tweak the country's constitution in order to pave the way for him to seek a third term in office. The removal of Civil Service Minister Guy Kolelas and Trade Minister Claudine Munari was announced earlier this week with no official reason given. The 71-year-old president, who's ruled the oil-producing Congo for a total of 31 years in two separate spells in office, is banned by the current constitution from seeking another term. However, last month he called a national forum to discuss reforms, including raising the maximum age for presidential candidates and also scrapping the two-term limit, further feeding expectations that he will seek to extend his rule in polls come next year. Well, for more on this development, we will go live to London in a moment, but let's just bring you a profile of just exactly who President Sassou Nguesso is. Now, he was born in 1943. He served as the chairman of the OAU from 1986 to 1987. He's been president of Congo since 1997. He was the one who introduced multi-party politics in 1990. He was then stripped of executive powers in 1991. Now, here's where things get a tad interesting. back in 2006, he and his entourage occupied 44 rooms during the United Nations General Assembly meeting. The cost of that was actually £130,000. He was criticized that year because a newspaper in Britain gave Congo humanitarian aid that was worth £106,000 the same year when this huge amount was spent on him and his entourage during the UNGA meeting. We're joined by African news analyst Mr. Oyama. He has been monitoring this development all the way from London, and that's where he joins us from now. Mr. Oyama, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Now, another third-term aspirant in the making. What's your take on this one?
Well, he's one of a number because his next-door neighbor, Joseph Kabila, is trying to do exactly the same thing in his own country. I suppose you've got to think, what is it that they gain from remaining presidents of countries for which the majority of citizens are absolutely poor beyond imagination? Why should anybody want to remain a president of an impoverished country? And it's the answer to that question that explains why they do it.
Well, is it even legal? The fact that he wants to tweak the Constitution to favor his third-term aspirations?
It's perfectly legal. I mean, if he is able to get the legislature to agree to his suggestion and they pass a vote supporting such a change, then the Constitution is altered. The Constitution is only as good as the people who vote for it and support it. It's only as good as the mandate given to it by the legislative.
Well, Mr. Oyama, just before I let you go, I need to ask, this issue of wanting to stay beyond one's terms is one which President Barack Obama did address when he was speaking to the African Union during his trip to Africa. Now, what role should the African Union be playing in situations like this, where we see the constitutions of various countries being manipulated based on personal aspirations?
Well, the trouble is that the African Union itself is composed of nations in which that sort of manipulation of the Constitution is the norm. So, I mean, they're hardly likely to take any initiative in correcting what is basically an abuse of office. And let's be honest, these people gain from being in office. You gave the information about the amount of money that Nguesso and his entourage spent when they were in New York. Well, this is what they go. This is why they want to be in charge. This is why they want to be rulers. They're not leading their country with any effect. They just want to be rulers and control the money stream.
Well, Mr. Oyama, thank you very much for your time. As always, we appreciate your inputs. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you. Mr. Oyama, an African news analyst reporting from London. Well, still to come on Network Africa, we take a look at some of the challenges which children face in camps for internally displaced persons. Details in just a moment.